Have you ever had a friend or family member use someone else for their mortgage? It sucks. It's like a gut punch. And this episode is going to be most useful for rookie mortgage brokers. But even if you're the type of mortgage broker who finds it easier to work with strangers than your own friends or family, this is an episode you're going to want to listen to. In this episode, I'm going to cover the 2 unspoken objections that your friends and family may have and how you can overcome them. I'm also going to talk to you about why you sometimes don't feel as confident asking for business. And I'm going to give you 2 ways to ask your friends and family for business that are super easy to do and absolutely work. Hey, I'm Scott Beckford. This is the I Love Mortgage Brokering podcast. And every week I bring you a short tactical episode to just help you with something in your business. And this week, it's really just, this is a tip of the iceberg of some of the training that we do in our Rookie to Rockstar program, because we know that as a rookie, some of these are challenges that you have. And sometimes even somebody who's been doing this a few years is you don't have this all figured out. So before I jump into this episode, I want to give a shout out to our title sponsor, Finmo. Finmo is a Canadian mortgage application, document collection, submission platform designed specifically for Canadian borrowers. It's very easy to use. It's got some cool features like Smart Docs, so it knows what documents that your client needs based on how they fill out the app. It's got smart submission notes, pulls key data from the app. Finally, it's also got Connected Lender Spotlight, which is the best tool for searching rates and guidelines. All right, so let's jump right into this episode. So there's really 2 main unspoken objections that someone has, especially when you're brand new in this, that they often won't tell you, and it's actually hurting you big time. And so the first one is they like you, right? And they know you from previous careers. So I used to be a paramedic, and I actually found getting mortgages, at least initially from paramedics, was the hardest group to get it from. And it was because they were like, Scott, you've been a paramedic for 9 years. Like, what do you know about mortgages? And the truth was, I didn't know a heck of a lot. And so the first unspoken objection is they like you, but they don't trust you yet. And often they're going to wait a couple of years before they'll actually start referring you. In a couple of minutes, I'll actually break down for you how you can speed that process up. And then the second possible reason is they don't want to share private info with you. So it's kind of like maybe their finances are kind of a mess and they want people to think they're one way. And so that's another objection. I think it's more often it's the first one than the second one. The second one is certainly there, but more often it's that they're like, yeah, I totally use you, but I got to wait and see if you're still going to make it. And so in order to overcome that objection, what we coach our agents to do is you don't rely on your own experience because you don't have any. You can't act like, oh, come, let me help you with your mortgage, because mortgages are freaking complex. They're way more complex. When I started in the mortgage industry, it was way easier. In fact, half the stuff that we used to do would be illegal now, and probably for good reason, but like it's much, much harder in terms of the underwriting side of it. And so it's much more way more complex. The complexity level is multiplied significantly because of the increased regulation and just the way things work. And so because of that, people are a little bit like, oh, I don't know if I can trust you. And so what you need to do, what we coach our people to do, is you don't rely on your own experience, right? Because you don't have any. So what you need to do is say, hey, look, I got a mentor. They've got 10 years experience. They've handled 1,000 plus files, and there's no problem on a file that they haven't seen before. So no matter what happens, we can help you with this. This is true, by the way, for not only friends and family, but even referrals partners that meet you and they're like, well, I thought you used to do this one thing, and now I see you as a mortgage broker. And so you have to rely on your underwriters or your mentor's experience. That's how you handle that one. In terms of the second one, you need to give them an easy out. So if they don't want to share private info with you, you say, look, hey, especially if you had a conversation with them and you feel like that might be the vibe, you could just drop something. You say something to this effect and say, hey, look, you know what? Here's the thing, I'd love to help you with your mortgage, but if you're not comfortable with, sharing personal private information with me, I can get one of my colleagues who I highly recommend, who would do my own personal mortgages for me, to help you out. And don't worry, there's no it's completely confidential. There's not anything shared. But either way, I want to just make sure that you're taken care of and that you're getting good advice. And whether it's with me or my colleague, I want to make sure that you're good. And then in that scenario, at least you've killed the objection of, I don't want to share my private info. So that's the 2 unspoken objections. I think the first one, which is, especially if you're new, it's like, I don't know if I can trust you. The second is you don't feel confident for asking for business. And so this is absolutely like pretty normal that happens, because why would you feel confident? You don't actually, you haven't done a lot of business yet. So you're like, hey, let me help you. And so what often happens though, is I find that this is probably, if you're listening to this and you've been doing this for more than 6 months, you will run into somebody who's like, oh my gosh, I didn't. And the reason this is important. So here's what I want to say. The reason this is important is because there's not a mortgage broker that I've coached that has not had this happen to them at least once in their first year. It's that they meet somebody who says, oh my gosh, I didn't know you're a mortgage broker. I just redid my mortgage 3 months ago. I just bought a place 2 months ago. I didn't even know, or I totally would have talked to you. So we don't reach out because we don't feel confident. And But the reality is that if then how we try to solve this is we post on social media and we think people are going to see it. So here's our solution. We're like, okay, I think that I've got this network of people I went to school with, people that came to my wedding, people that just these different networks that you have, previous employers, and you're like, they're going to know, right? If I'm a mortgage broker and I put it on my social media, they're going to know. They're not going to know. And even if they see the post, even if they like, how many things have you liked because you just like the person, you just keep scrolling? Be honest with me. Maybe even some of my stuff. You're like, yeah, I like your stuff, Scott, but I didn't even watch it. You throw a heart on it or a like on it, and everybody does that. And so the reality is that unless you learn how to do a direct ask, which I'm going to talk about in a second, this is going to happen to you, and it's going to cost you thousands and thousands of dollars. And it's because you're like, I'm not comfortable about it, and so that's why I want to give you 2 ways to overcome this whole not feeling confident in asking for business. But if you don't have to listen to me, and so you can just wait until you actually feel more confident. But then it will cost you, and I think it's a mistake. So there's the 2 unspoken objections. There's this sort of underlying, I don't feel confident, so I don't want to talk to my friends and family yet, especially if you're new. So here's 2 things you do. The first is a indirect ask. This is the easiest thing to do. An indirect ask is not actually an ask for business. It's an ask for an introduction. So imagine I'm a new mortgage broker and I reach out to everybody in my network. I've got 300 people on Facebook and whatever I got on LinkedIn. And my question is, hey, Bob, long time no chat. Quick question. If you were going to sell your house, which realtor would you use? Right? That's it. They're going to say, oh, I would use Bob Smith. Tell me, okay, not Bob. We use her name, Sally. So I always say Bob and Sally. I don't know why. So it's Sally. They say, I would use Sally Smith. Why Sally? Oh, and then you got to ask why. You want some intel so that when you reach out to Sally, you now have inside information that you can use to leverage to get a conversation going, right? So when I reach out to Sally, I'm like, hey, Sally, I was just talking to Bob and they said, oh my gosh, that I had to meet you because you did X, Y, and Z. And I'm at the point in my business where I get to pick and choose who I work with. And I'd love to sit down with you and show you how I can help you grow your business. Does Tuesday at 10 work or Thursday at 11, right? So you see what I did there? I literally took the information, the inside information from Bob, and then I used it, and it calms down their nervous system. The worst thing you do is call them up and say, hey, I'm a mortgage broker. Can we meet? They're like, yeah, sure, buddy. I got 10 other mortgage brokers calling me. It's not going to work. So you have to have some kind of a connection. So that would be the indirect ask. And you could do this, by the way, by phone is the most powerful. You can do it with voice notes and DMs. So you could do this with messaging people and getting the intel and then use that. And here's the thing will happen though. So why you want to do this is that they now know what you do for a living, right? So if I ask my friend Bob, who the realtor is, because I'm in the mortgage, and I would tell them and then when they say, why do you want to know? I'd say, I'm in the mortgage space and I'm looking for some good realtors to partner with, and I'm wondering if you know anyone. So that gives them the reason why. I have found that if you do that with enough people, some people are going to completely ignore your question and they're going to say, hey, my mortgage is coming up. Can you help me? And you're like, well, I think I can. Or they're like, hey, I'm looking at buying a place. Can you help me? And you're going to say, heck yeah, I can help you. But asking for advice or asking for an introduction is way easier than asking for a referral for a lot of people. So start with that. And then it gets everybody connected. So that's level 1. Level 2, we want to take this to black, not black belt yet, blue belt levels. Your white belt, you go to blue belt. The way you go to blue belt is once you've had that meeting with the real estate agent, and especially if you have a good connection, it sounds like you guys are going to start working together, reach back out to that person, to Bob. Let's just say it's Bob again. Say, hey, Bob, I can't thank you enough. I just met with Sally. Looks like we're going to be working together. She's amazing. Now, 2 things happen here. One, and that especially if Sally's been in the real estate business for 10 plus years and you're brand new, they're going to go, holy crap, how did Scott manage to convince Sally to work with him? And by saying thank you, you're reminding them of what you do. So you'd be crazy not to do the thank. The thank you actually reinforces it. It's like this, I call it triangle for trust. You're basically building the triangle between you, the person that you want to meet, and the person that you already know. And when you go, every time you reconnect with each corner of those triangles, it gets stronger. So then, okay, you get your first deal from that realtor finally. You close that deal, reach out, maybe you send them a little Starbucks card, say, hey, thanks so much, man. I just closed my first loan with Sally. She's amazing. Got some fantastic clients. Guess what's going to happen to your friend? Your friend Bob's going to be like, holy crap. I thought you were a paramedic. I didn't know you must be a good mortgage broker if you're already working with somebody who's been in the business that long and you're doing business with them. And you're in none of those scenarios are you asking for business, but you are building trust. You're layering on trust with a trawl. Like it's like it's thick because now they're going to go, oh, okay. If Sally, I like Sally and Sally trusts you. So now I trust you. See how I did that? So that's why I always recommend, and the way we coach our people on is to use their existing network first. You can go after strangers. Sure. It's just harder, frankly. But if you use your existing network, you get that triangle effect. And as anybody in engineering knows, triangles are the strongest shape. right? Like all the things that are the strongest. And so you want to build the strongest referral-based business, use this triangle for trust. So that's a direct ask or the indirect ask. The direct ask is, and I've seen people use this successfully as well, is so if you don't want to do the ask for the intro, and if you've already done that and you want to do a second layer thing would be, I would drop people a voice note and just say, hey, Bob. And I've seen, some agents do this. Say, hey, Bob. And I would use like a voice note or a video, especially in a DM. Just put on my mortgage chat, let you know that mortgages are, I'm in the mortgage business right now. There's a lot of mortgages coming up for renewal. And if it does, I'd be happy to help you, give you a second opinion, chat with you. Hope you have a great day. Goodbye. Now, a couple things are going to happen. Some people are going to ignore you completely. So what? Doesn't matter. They still saw you. And the people that I've known who've done this, some of them, they've got people that did not respond to the video at all. Like no response, not a thumbs up, not a I like you. What happens is that, but 3 months later, they're like, hey, can you help my sister? 2 months later, it's like, hey, I actually got a refi. They still saw it. At the end of the day, they still saw your message. And so that would be more of a direct ask and then an indirect. And so if you're a little uncomfortable with it, start with the indirect ask because everybody loves to give their opinion on stuff. And then it also helps you reinforce the network. Now, a couple of things that can happen from this. One, what happens if you have a reasonably large network and there's more introduction realtors than you can get to? Don't worry about it. Just pick the best ones. Pick the ones that have, if there's people that have 2 or 3 names that come up multiple times, that's probably somebody you want to reach out to, right? Because, hey, man, I've talked to, man, I would say to the realtor, hey, again, the realtor, hey, Sally, you know what? You seem to be everywhere. I was talking to a couple of my friends, I was talking to Bob and I was talking to Kevin, talking to Mark, and they're all saying, Sally's going to be sitting there going, oh yeah, I am pretty awesome. Right? Like, cause I'm leading with, they always say lead with value. Well, the value is the fact that she's getting, positive affirmation from her customers. She's also going to be way more keen to talk to you because being rude to you is essentially being rude to her customers. And so it's the easiest way to do that. But you got to bring in the step. If you want to build that trust, back to feeling confident, if you want to build that trust and overcome that unspoken objection of, I don't know if I trust you yet, you got to go back and say thank you. The thank yous are important. And imagine, imagine if you've done this, so you work with a realtor, you end up doing 3, 4, 5 deals and you say thank you. That person's gonna be like, oh my God, every time you say thank you, you are reminding them what you do, right? Plus, it's just a good human thing to do. Just be like, hey, thank you so much. And they're gonna be like, wow, I didn't know that Scott was this good at this mortgage business. You will get referrals. It'll be instead of them waiting 2 years to start referring you, they will start referring you sooner because they'll be like, okay, you have just proven to me with your actions, not just your words, that you know what you're doing. So hopefully you find that helpful. Quick recap here. So the 2 unspoken objections are the fact that, hey, I don't know if I trust you yet, even though I like you. Make sure you lean on your mentor's experience, not your own. Second possible reason, I don't want to share private information with you. And again, make sure you got to keep, if they're not going to bring up the objection, you've got to kill it for them. So you make sure you respond to that. If you don't feel confident, then one of the best things to do is to use a direct an indirect ask, which is the introduction, and then use the direct ask. And if it was me, I would start with everybody in my circle with the indirect ask and then wait 3 months or 2 months and then go back to the direct ask. It doesn't matter. People are and stop overthinking it. I have had tons of people unsubscribe from my email list. It doesn't make any difference to me. Here's the thing I was saying to him. I was talking to my son the other day I was coaching him about making calls. And I said, if you're really clear on where you want to be your goal, right? So let's say you've got a goal where you want to be in 3 years or 6 years, whatever. I got a 6-year goal that I want. And if somebody that I hardly know doesn't like me for some reason, or they don't even know me, frankly. So if you reach out to them and they're like, screw off, I don't like you. Are you going to let the opinion of some random person who doesn't know you are, who couldn't pick you out of a lineup, stop you from going after the goal that you want? I hope the answer is no. And I think it was Viktor Frankl said, a person who has a why can overcome any how. You just got to have a bigger why. If your why is big enough, you're like, I don't care. It doesn't matter. What this person thinks, it does not matter. And here's the thing. A year later, that person will come back and be like, oh man, I'm excited to work with you. They're going to completely forget. So stop getting in your head. This is what I'm going to tell you there. Okay. Almost done. So if you're interested to find out about how, this is just literally, as I said, the tip of the iceberg of what we do in our Rookie to Rockstar program. If you want to find out more, go to rookie2rockstar.ca. We have a whole program designed around not only how to get these initial conversations going, but then how to get the realtor in a meeting, because that's not easy. And then the next step is then how to do a meeting that actually shows a ton of value. So at the end of it, they go, oh my gosh, I should totally be referring you. We do all of that in our program. Go to rookie2rockstar.ca, check it out. Thanks again for listening to this episode. And as I always say, there's no problem in your mortgage business that someone else hasn't already solved. Your problem is who's got the answer? Hopefully this podcast gives you some of the answers. Thanks for listening, and I will see you on the next episode.